Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
Think you know what way it's going to go? Make your bet at Sports Interaction. Whether it's hockey, football, or basketball, Sports Interaction has you covered. Bet pregame, live and play, or on one of our many prop bets. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now and see all that sports betting has to offer. Want to bet? Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. 19 plus. Please play responsibly. All right, Oilers fans, that was awesome. That was a lot of fun. That was a crazy game. 6-3 matinee game. As far as matinees go, that's about as good as you can ask for. I'm super happy with the Oilers' performance, at least after looking back at it as a total. There were a few things in there that obviously weren't fantastic, but for the most part, it was a pretty solid game. However, I will say the reason why I seem a little flustered right now, about halfway through the third period, Chris Johnston decided to light Oilers Twitter on fire, tweeting out that the Oilers re-engaged about Erik Karlsson, and I tried so hard to pay super close attention to the game, make sure it was all good, make sure I was getting a ton of notes, make sure it wasn't just going to be another edition of Trade Center Game Over. But yeah, no, I got super distracted towards the end, so obviously we're going to touch on Erik Karlsson, we're going to talk about Jack Campbell, we're going to talk about the special teams performance. Obviously McDavid showed up today, we're going to talk about the defense and pretty much everything that we always touch on. But first, yeah, I want to say what's up to everyone in the chat. MGD, thanks for back after missing a game with us last time. Mickinator, David W, thanks for joining us. I know it's an afternoon, so it's definitely a really weird time to be here, but yeah, how's it going, Dennis? What do you think of the game?
You know what? This is one of my first matinee broadcasts, so it's a little different. Things are, I don't know. It seems like I'm a lot less focused watching the game at 10:30 in the morning. So, like you said, I tried to stay engaged, but yeah, I was scrolling Twitter a lot more than a typical Oilers game. And even, the the Erik Karlsson news from SDPN's very own Chris Johnson. Yeah, that's wild. I mean, if you're going all in, I know you've been big on Chychrun, but Karlsson.
Listen.
We're going big fish hunt.
The only reason why I keep suggesting Chychrun is the cap hit, right? Because Chychrun's a $4.6 million cap hit. Obviously, you want someone with term. Like, that's ideal. They both have term. Karlsson is like a world-class talent, multiple Norris trophies, still playing at peak level, right? San Jose wants to get this contract off the books. I just keep suggesting Chychrun because I think it's more realistic just in terms of making the money work. And
it's team friendly,
Well, yeah, that's the only reason. But like, if you can go out and get Erik Karlsson, that is as close as you're ever going to see to Paul Coffey, Mark Messier, and Wayne Gretzky playing on a NHL ice surface again. So yeah, that's crazy. Let's touch on that towards the end though. Let's just talk about the game at the beginning here. Going into this game, whenever the Oilers play the Senators, I always think about the 9-game winning streak they had against them in the bubble. Then last year,
Canadian League, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then last year, I didn't even remember this, but I guess they were swept by the Senators.
2-0, yeah. It was disappointing, to say the least.
Completely left my mind. And then going into this game, I was a little bit nervous just because it was a matinee, but I always I feel like the Oilers give a good performance against the Senators, obviously barring the 2 games last year. But I guess I had no idea the Sens had the second best power play in the NHL, and they were riding a 4-game winning streak. The puck was bouncing all over the ice early on.
And it looked like an ODR out there.
Oh my God, it was insane. The Oilers ended up going back to Jack Campbell, which we can argue. I don't think going into the game it was the wrong decision. I think either way it didn't really matter. What do you think about the decision to start Jack Campbell? I'll start there.
Honestly, it's going to be a back-to-back situation. You're going to either have to play Campbell against Montreal or against Ottawa. Campbell's been doing pretty good. Like, he was riding a hot streak coming into this. Skinner, he's maybe regressed a little bit more. So it really depends. Are you more scared of the Senators or the Canadians? And at this point, I'm a little bit more scared of the Senators. So it makes sense to me. Throw in Campbell, who's been on a little bit more of a hot streak, and then Skinner tomorrow. You can probably count on him to steal a win from Montreal. But let's be honest, Campbell didn't play that good today.
No.
He ended up with an .897 save percentage, sub 900. Yeah, it's barely, but at the same time, he looked absolutely average.
Well, I
Couple of
think
bad
if you look
ones
at the
too.
the bad goals, like the Brandstrom goal specifically, that far out, that big of a muffin, I place a lot of the blame of that on Jack Campbell, but also to me that isn't the strongest defending by Tyson Barrie, right? You can step up and be a little more aggressive on that play. You can't allow Eric Brandstrom to beat you out wide and pull out for the shot, and yeah, so that wasn't the best play, but yeah, you'd like Campbell to stop that. I know it was a decent shot, but that can't be going in, and for a team with these type of aspirations, you can't allow goals like that. Even the
You
Claude Giroux goal, I think that was probably the only goal that
that
was
that one's
acceptable.
tougher because it's off his foot, right?
Yeah. And then
You
and the
want to defense.
Sanderson goal. Sorry to cut you off. That's the other one I was trying to
Okay,
think of. The Sanderson goal. That was another one. 5-hole, really far out. You'd like Jack Campbell to get down, be a little faster, be a little further out in the crease. Yeah. So 2 out of the 3 goals to me, I'd say I'd put directly on Jack Campbell. Just say straight up, you need saves there. Obviously, the Oilers won, and when you have an offense like the Oilers, you can afford to have these little miscues. Obviously, we're going to want those cleaned up. But it is, again, a 10:30 game. You're on the road. Just first part of a back-to-back. It's going to be your third game in 4 nights tomorrow. Like, I can see the mental errors coming again tomorrow. You're just going to have to be able to outscore them. Their power play showed up late. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins got the power play goal. Where they really shined, though, was on the penalty kill once again. What do you think of
yeah.
the PK?
Well, it's weird, right? Because going to this game, like you said, I had no idea that Ottawa was the second best power play in the league. But you know what? Today was also a little bit weird for special teams in general. There was a lot of sort of even up calls. Officially on the score sheet, Ottawa was 1 for 4. We were 1 for 5. But so many of those power plays, I think at least 2, maybe even 3, ended up in 4-on-4 situations
Yeah.
for at least some duration of time. So honestly, I think that all things considered, this team, they played all right. The penalty kill did what they needed to do. There were 2 chances. I can't remember which penalty it was, but there were 2 really big chances by the Ottawa Senators on one of their power plays. They didn't score, so that's a reassuring thing for Oilers fans. But you have to try and push guys out of the crease. Again, we saw a lot of activity in front of the crease tonight. Campbell did a lot. A lot of the shots that beat him were outside,
Mm-hmm.
which again comes with another bit of concern. But at least a lot of the increase activity was shut down today, and
Yeah.
I'm happy about that.
Yeah, when I think of Jack Campbell, and I'm glad, I think it was Mickinator brought it up in the chat that he did stop that breakaway. There was a play early on, I believe it was in the first, where Jesse made a really, really nice pass to Evander Kane, and it looked like Evander Kane was open to shoot, but he opted to drop it back for the trailer, who was Tyson Barrie. And to me, I thought it was a really good pass, but this, I think, is twofold. Kind of the puck was bouncing a lot tonight, but Tyson Barrie kind of flubbed the pass, went behind him, and our friend Derek Bouchard went in on a breakaway, which Jack Campbell stood up really big on, right? So that was a good play that Campbell made, but obviously, even though he did make that save, you still expect him to stop those 2 floaters because those just can't go in. I see Shade in the chat with the Carlson, and we're gonna get into Carlson more.
We'll get there
because I could do this entire show on the Carlson talk. We have to talk about the game first. We have to. And yeah.
Hey Zach, you know what I've noticed?
What?
After game, you didn't give us a light goal, so
Oh.
I'll do it right now.
Mhm.
6-3 game. We just spent a little bit of time talking about Jack Campbell, so let's flip that around. Let's do 36. Can we hit 36 likes?
Yeah, absolutely. What a great light goal, Dennis. That was a veteran pull right there. Wow. You should start doing those more often. That was fantastic. But yeah, no, and just another thing to build on with the penalty kill. 2 shorthanded goals today, right? First one was an amazing world-class effort from Connor McDavid, going back, stealing the puck from Thomas Chabot, and just fending off 2 Senators defenders for 10 seconds, just holding onto the puck. What kind
of that for so long? And keep in mind, the backhand dish to McLeod afterwards, the guy's got eyes on the back of his head. That was incredible. And McLeod, of course, he buried that easy peasy. You got the 2 fastest guys on the team.
Yeah, that was Forsberg made a good effort to get over it, but McLeod it was a good finishing attempt. That wasn't just a tap in. McLeod had to put some nice finish on it. He did, and that went in, and that made the play look so much better. That was fantastic to see. That was probably the second loudest I jumped and yelled for a goal this game. That was impressive. And then just to build on that later in the game, Derek Ryan to ice it, kind of put it away with the chip or whatever.
Just a bit of a chop off. Yeah, bit of a chop off of a Kulak pass, but this is what you say, right? In hockey, there's a couple of mantras. The solid one that was proved tonight: just put pucks on net.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
happened. It happened in our favor and in Ottawa's favor.
And you
So
see, when they put pucks on net, when they work hard, they have the skill to beat teams like this. Even though Ottawa up front is a really skilled team, that's why it's so frustrating against teams like Columbus and Philly when you see that they're not doing what they're capable of and they failing. But yeah, no, this is 11 games straight with a point. They haven't lost in regulation since they lost to the LA Kings. This is a really impressive run. Let's hope they continue it tomorrow. But yeah,
and we're
no.
now 1 point off of Vegas.
Yep.
Vegas, of course, since this is as good as time of any. Vegas obviously had a little bit of an injury situation with Logan Thompson going down yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So this is unfortunate. Goalies going down,
Well,
you never want to see it, and we'll talk about the one that happened today as well. But the Oilers have a chance now. The Pacific first place is wide open. They can rack up a lot of points.
The West is
in the
wide
next
open.
little bit.
Like they could win the West really easily. Like I think that I shouldn't say easily, but there's a route to them winning the West, and it was a very important game. When it was tied 3-3, I was really nervous because you looked over at the box score in the Calgary game. Calgary's out shooting Buffalo 38-8 or whatever.
Or something.
Yeah, and they ended up winning 7-2. So this was a very important game to win to keep that distance between yourselves and the Flames and keep yourself at the top. And LA's playing Pittsburgh tonight. We're getting into standings watching season. And yeah, so this is a game that you had to come through. And when it was tied 3-3, I was pretty upset. I thought there were a number of plays early on in the game. Like Cody Ceci in the first period was beat 3 separate times on really bad pinches. For a Senators 2-on-1 or odd man rush, and that does not look good. Like to me, there's more and more apparent, obvious issues in CC's game, and it's starting to really be a factor. And I think that is partially why Nurse gets so much hate. Like Nurse makes his mistakes. Like today, Shane Pinto, by the way, on a Senators power play, nutted him like they're in the World Cup. That was
rough.
That was dirty.
But, let's be honest, you're right. We're asking CC to do a little bit too much. Obviously, during the playoff rush, he did fantastic. He was lights out, but during this season, it seems like we're definitely overloading him a little too much. And you're right, it splashes over onto Nurse as well.
And this just goes to our conversation that we're going to get into more about why they need. It is not a want, it is a need. A top pairing defenseman, right or left shot, don't care, pick your poison. But yeah,
hey, one of the guys that you keep saying about, he can play both.
Exactly. Yeah, a chicken can. I don't think Carlson can, but yes.
But hey, I wanted to quickly shout out Black Masakar in chat. I know he's a European viewer. Good morning.
Good evening.
It's a game in the evening for him. So thank you so much for being here. I know this is a little bit of a departure for you.
Yeah, they get to be back tomorrow. Another evening game. It's probably perfect if you live in Europe. So I mean, we shouldn't be complaining too much because there's people like Black Mascara who are up at 1, 2, 3 in the morning watching Oilers games, right? So I could not even imagine that lifestyle. So kudos to you for being here. I'm glad that you get to treat yourself at least once to a regular timed game, which is pretty funny to say. But yeah, no, I thought the Oilers, like early on, and even in the first period, they were outshooting the Senators 11-2 with 10 minutes left. It was a really good start. They probably could have capitalized a bit more. They hit a post, the Sens hit a post. But again, the puck was bouncing. It was an afternoon game. You don't really put too much stock into that. I thought it was pretty good.
Like, let's go over a quick little thing. Between the first period and the third period, Puljujärvi, beautiful chance to start the first period.
Right? 30 seconds into the game, I jumped off my couch because you feel for him. You want him to score so bad. You feel so bad for him. The amount of abuse and hate that the guy takes is so undeserved. And I am so sick of arguing about trade him, don't trade him, play him, don't play him. I'm so sick of it. I'm so burnt out. I don't care. Play him 2 minutes, play him 25, score, don't score. But eventually we all know the writing's on the wall. But to see him have that play and not put it in, that was upsetting. And then when it's tied 3-3, for him to come out with a beautiful effort, reach for the puck, take the shot, and it was a vintage Puljujärvi goal. He went far side. I think it was posting in. It was fantastic. And when they immediately just said, "Oh, that might be offside," I would have burst into tears if they called that goal back. It's
okay. He's not Zach Hyman, so he's not going to get the call back.
That was the loudest I screamed in quite some time watching an Oilers game, because we're in the dog days. There's now 9 games left until the trade deadline. All you can focus on really is deadline acquisitions. That's all anyone could think about. These are the games that are just like, you're like, come on, let's get through these. Let's get to the last stretch before the playoffs here. This is where it gets rough. And to see a goal like that from a player that you want to see succeed, it was fantastic. Upset trade value, I might add as well. So that was really good. And Mickinator, exactly what I said in the chat.
At the same time.
So great point. Great minds think alike. That was fantastic. It was great to see. There was a play also, like another guy, like to me, that just changed the complexion of the blue line is Vincent Desharnais. There was a play early on where I think it was Tim Stützle, so not a bad forward by any means, tries driving wide on Stützle, but Desharnais in his giraffe arms just reaches his stick out, and you can't go anywhere on that guy. You can't get around him, right? To me, that
reach.
That's just as good as anything you could get from a Joel Edmondson. He's bigger. He's probably more mobile, just based on the fact Joel Edmondson's been injured for 6 years. Like, I think this guy changes the complexion. I know it's a small sample size, but I think you can have a small sample size and still be objective in your evaluation and understand that, okay, we've seen it. This isn't a red flag. This isn't Jesse Pouliot. I shouldn't use Jesse as the example. This isn't I don't know. Who am I trying? This isn't I'm trying to think of. The Oilers don't really have a red. This isn't a James Hamblin. Let's say James Hamblin came up and got a hat trick. We're not putting James Hamblin on the top unit power play. We're not. James Hamlin's still going to end up back in Bakersfield eventually. I think what we've seen from Vincent Desharnais in the role that the Oilers want him to be in is good long-term, and I don't think we've seen a drop-off when it comes to a better opponent. I think he's been very consistent. He's played very well, and he has better puck skills than anyone has expected. So that, thank God, has allowed them to shift off their pursuit of Mr. Defensive Defenseman, Mr. Left-handed Adam Larson, who doesn't exist. So I'm pretty happy with that.
You're right. I totally love the way that he plays. He's just a big, tall guy as well. Mm-hmm. You saw in one of those stoppages, I can't remember who it was. I think it was probably Tkachuk. He's in the grill.
Oh yeah, it was Tkachuk.
And Vinny just
I'm
gonna chop you a couple times.
That's what Black Massacre is referring to. And then right after, I thought Desharnais was gonna go with Tkachuk, and then right after they say, "Oh, Tkachuk's gonna go," so I get ready, and I see Evander Kane fighting. What was like
the
really
man's
cool?
Made out of steel.
I was shocked he was fighting. Like I that's a caliber of player I kind of expect him to fight. Like those are two power forwards who can score goals. And are really impactful on both of their teams. So I understand it, but like I did not think Kane had the medical approval to take a fight. So I was a little worried, I'm not going to lie, that he was going to really hurt himself. Doesn't seem like he did. Seemed like he was fine, finished the game. We'll see how he plays tomorrow. But yeah, one thing I just wanted to ask before, because I didn't hear anything about this in the game, and if anyone in chat knows, you can let me know. When Jesse was in, because there's no morning skate, there's nothing like that when it's a game like this. Is Warren Fogle scratched or was he hurt?
I think Warren Fogle has a bit of a day-to-day situation. Mm-hmm. It doesn't seem like it's major, but it's conveniently day-to-day. And I mean, let's talk about it as well. Costin went down the tunnel in the third period as well. From what it looks like, it's hard because we don't have a good angle.
We'll know tomorrow. He might be scratched tomorrow, to be honest with you. But you can't scratch him. Who would you... I guess Shore's with the team. You could play Shore. I'd rather just play 10 forwards, to be honest. I think that'd be a better option.
Well, my hope is Fogle can probably play again, or, it's tough to say because when he was going off, he had his shoulder in a little bit of a baby hold position. Right? Yeah.
That was from the hit from Zub. And then Fogle, I would assume, because I remember he took a shot block or a shot off the leg or something, and he ended up walking up, but he finished the game. So I don't know what that was.
I think that was off of a Broberg shot.
Yeah, you're right. It was a Broberg. It was a Broberg shot. It was a Broberg shot for sure. That's exactly what it was.
So we might have to play with Shore. It depends on the extent of Fogle's injury. It depends on how Kleem's feeling. It might be a shoulder or a wrist. Those are typically the two injury points when you're doing this cupping sort of pose. So we'll have to see how it goes. The good thing is tomorrow's against Montreal. Yeah. So not exactly elite competitors.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can't take anyone lightly. Like this has been a stretch of, subpar out of the playoff opponents, but you can't take anyone lightly. Anyone could lose to anyone, so that's why I don't put as much stock into that argument. Obviously, I would like to see, like, when the Oilers go on their next stretch against the Rangers and Colorado and Boston and Toronto and all these teams, so that's going to be a much better measuring stick. Hopefully, we'll have Erik Karlsson on the team by that time, so we can have a little better idea of what they're going to look like in the playoff. Master Thesis Klim looks like a collarbone, so thanks for your insight collarbone there. That could be. I don't know. We didn't hear anything, and Dennis and I go live right after the game, so we don't get to see Jay Woodcroft's interview until we finish. But if anyone gets an update or whatnot, if they want to let us know, that'd be fantastic. I thought Evan Bouchard played really well today. I thought he was, to me, probably the standout.
I think he was the best.
Yeah.
The best defender on the team.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at. I highlighted Desharnais. No, don't apologize. I was saying it without saying it. It was good for you to just come out and actually say the best defender on the team. I thought him and Broberg together, again, they moved the puck really well. He was getting his shots. He was creating chances. He missed the net. And again, he's going to go on a shooting percentage bender because his shooting percentage has got to be really low. And he's going to climb up and he's going to score a bunch of goals. And I thought also late in the game, after Forsberg got hurt, and we could touch on that in a little bit. I thought that second power play unit, when they were out there, the Holloway, Bouchard, Kane, I thought they were moving the puck around really well. Like that unit has some really high skilled players, and they're gonna they can finish on that as well. I thought Bouchard played excellent today. I was really impressed with his game. But yeah, let's touch on that last goal, the RNH power play goal that got Forsberg pulled out of the game. What'd you see on that play?
Yeah, I love plays in the crease because, I grew up in an era where Ryan Smith was the hero for the team, and I just love seeing dirty goals off of rebounds, sticks and pucks and scrambles. I love seeing that kind of thing. And RNH, he's a smart player. He's a cerebral player. He knows that there's going to be a lot of activity in front, and all you need to do is just wait on the outside. There's just going to be a little bit of a trickle. And if you can get to that puck before a defender can clear it, bang it right home. Now, of course, the sad thing is Hyman got pushed into Forsberg, so it wasn't really a difficult shot to make. Forsberg just didn't get up.
Yeah, it was a bad play by Hammond. Like, I don't know what he was thinking was going to happen, to be honest with you.
There's this weird thing where defenders are just pushing guys into their own goalies. Mm-hmm. It's been I have never seen that, in the previous decades of watching hockey. Somehow in the last 2 or 3 years, that's become like a standard play. You're just on the wrong side of the crease. You're not boxing a guy out. You're pushing a guy in. Mm-hmm. Like that. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Maybe part of it is because of the lack of clarity on goaltender interference. Mm-hmm. What is goaltender interference these days? Yeah. So you're hoping, hey, maybe I shove a guy, doesn't get called, and if they do score, it gets called back.
Yeah, it was and Nuge ended up potting Nuge ended up potting that goal. So Nuge gets a point today. Hyman had 2, McDavid had 3, Draisaitl came back. I think Draisaitl had 2. Much better game. Leon, I think, had 6 shots. He rang a post on the power play early on.
He had 8 shots.
8. Okay.
Dude was a engine today, but just nothing going
This is the Leon we expect. This is the engaged Leon who's drawing calls, who's pissing people off, who's scoring goals, and just a bit force, just a dominant force for your team. Yeah, so this was a much better game from Leon. Let's see if it will continue. We don't have to hope or pray that it continue. We know it'll continue. I think the guys...
He drew the penalty from Zub on that final power play.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. He was engaged. That's all you want to see. Because I know for Leon, sometimes it's tough for him to get back in the swing of things. It took a couple games to get back in, but now he's back. Hopefully he's back for the stretch run, and I'm not worried at all about the playoffs because when the playoffs come, we know both of those two guys are going to elevate to another level. So that's not what you have to worry about. What you have to worry about is, even like Black Mouse Gary pointed out in chat, Kulak had a good game today. He's had two points, 2 primary assists. He played really well. But that pairing with Barry, man, there were a number of defensive miscues, like just missing matchups. Not overall solid.
A little bit too aggressively.
I can't even pinpoint on one play specifically. I think there was just a number of plays where it seemed like they were almost soft, like they were flat-footed. They were a step behind the Senators players, right? The Senators were snapping it around. And I think if the puck was bouncing for both teams, right? So it was equal playing field, but
I think one of the weird things that I noticed, is it just me, or do the Ottawa forwards just have a guy really deep? Like
Yeah.
there's a dude who's just cherry picking. He's waiting for those breakout passes.
Yeah,
So
I think it was I know Derek Bouchard was hit a number of
had
times.
one, yeah.
The Brinket almost had one. I've never seen. Oh, by the way, I've never seen Evan Bouchard as mad as he was when Alex DeBrincat. I thought they were going to fight. I genuinely thought they were going to fight. I was shocked that he didn't.
No, I mean he's a dad, right? So
Yeah,
he's got that dad face. He
that's
just
true.
gives you the disappointed stare.
Well, he
You
was
know, do
saying
better.
it looked like a little bit more than just disappointment was coming out of his mouth. But yeah, no, I digress on that. But yeah, no, they played really well. All the big dogs got points. We have 4 guys on pace for 100 points. I don't think that's happened since I believe it's the Pittsburgh Penguins. Back in the early 1990s, so almost 30 years since that. And imagine we take those 400-point forwards on one power play unit, and instead of having a certified scrub on the point, we replace that with a 100-point Hall of Fame like Norris caliber defenseman. Oh my God! Talk about happy. I have been like. I can sit here and I can acknowledge a lot of Ken Holland's, some of Ken Holland's good moves. Like I like Kane, I like Hyman, I like Nugent-Hopkins, I like Holloway. There's a number of plays I can say. I like Klim Kostin, even though that's just a minor trade, but everyone seems to talk about it like it was when the LA Kings acquired Wayne Gretzky. Anyways, there's also been a number of miscues. There's the Cassian contract. I believe he was the one who signed Alex Chase on to a way too long, way too expensive contract. There's been a number of things with Holland, and even the fact that Holland just seems like he's scared or very tentative, at least at prior deadlines, to go all in. And we've heard him in interviews being like, I don't know. The old money in, money out. Everyone remembers the quotes like 82, 83, 84, plus the 5, less the 4, 84, 85, 1, 2, 3. Like where he just started counting and saying random numbers out of order. It sounded like he was having I was tempted to call 911 after that interview. I thought there was a medical emergency happening, but we were obviously fine. And yeah, so this is the year though. We've heard him say in the past he can't go all in every year. You have 4 100-point forwards. You're getting better, even take away tonight. You're getting better goaltending than anyone could have expected. Your big hole is defensively. I know we can sit here and say, yeah, their big hole is the 4th line left wing. That's where the Bob Stauffer on the broadcast, the big hole, 4th line left wing. They need a Sam Lafferty type, which that's what they need. Sure. And
that's the narrative.
And he compared it to Colorado acquiring Andrew Cogliano. Sure. That was a fine pickup for Andrew Cogliano. What'd they pay? Like a 5th round pick for Andrew Cogliano, something like that. But you know what Colorado also did? They went out and they acquired Josh Manson and Devon Taves, who is a top 10 defenseman in the NHL. We can't be like, oh yeah, Cogliano's what put Colorado over the top, because no, it's not. That is not true. Yeah, Cogliano helped. Every player on that team helped. But if you're going to, the impact additions that Colorado made through trade were on their blue line. They won the Stanley Cup. They swept the Oilers. The Oilers,
they looked dominant too.
Oh
right?
my God,
that's the difference too. Their defense shut down the Oilers some games.
Our forwards, I would pick over Colorado's. I think Edmonton's forwards can go toe to toe any game with anyone in the NHL. They're the best forward group in the league. I would pick them over anyone, bar none. But the problem is, when you have that support system of the top 6 that Colorado has below their forwards that might be a couple rungs lower, it elevates them just so much higher. So if you could take a player, whether it's Chychrun or Carlson, I'm going to be easy. I don't care. Pick either one. And you plug them in, you can elevate your forward group when they're on the ice with those elite defensemen, and you change the entire complexion of your team. You can beat people. You can change your matchup game. It completely changes everything. That makes you a force for the cup. You want to win a cup. This is your chance. No one cares about the future. There's no point in saving any picks. The picks mean nothing. Truly, truly mean nothing. You should.
For the next 4 years, they mean absolutely nothing.
Yeah, no. Carlson signed for 4 more years. If you pay, if they want 3 first-round picks and then they'll retain whatever it costs to make the contracts work, do it.
Sorry, but if you're giving away 4 first-round picks or throw in a first prospect, like a big A-list prospect, get a third team involved. Get an Arizona. Arizona's not doing anything.
Listen.
For the next 4 years.
Oh, what I love if a third team got involved. The difference is because Carlson's contract is so big. No team, and you can only retain, I think it is on 3 contracts at one time in the NHL, the way the cap works. No team, Arizona's already retaining on 2. The amount that you're going to have to pay to get Arizona to retain a portion of Karlsson's deal is not going to be worth it. They're going to want Evan Bouchard just to retain it. Like you have to make whatever the deal is, you're going to have to make it work between you and San Jose. But San Jose, especially if you're giving them contracts that are going to expire, like Barrie or Foe or Puljujärvi, within the next calendar year, then you should be good to make it work. If you could get them to retain 35% of Karlsson's salary, get his cap hit down to like 7 or 7.5, you send Tyson Barrie out the door because obviously that's your replace. Like he take all of Barrie's minutes. There's no point having Barrie. You still have Bouchard. You send Barrie out the door, and then you have whether it's Puljujärvi, it's Yamamoto, it's Foegele. I truly don't care, but you have that $3 million. You have like 7.5, 7.6, whatever in money going out the door. So you just get them to retain enough on Karlsson to match that exact salary going out the door, and it should be fine. To me, the biggest question is, does Karlsson waive to come to Edmonton for 4 more years? Because it's quite the lifestyle change going from San Jose. If it was 1 year, I think he would do it no problem. But it's 4.
But it's 4. But again, he had a good run in Ottawa. I don't think, unless it's purely a lifestyle thing. Yeah, unless it's purely a lifestyle thing, I don't think he would negate any trade here. It's a chance to win. You're going to be here for at least 3 years with a chance to win, if not 4. And just to double check, actually, Arizona they're only retaining on OEL. And that's a tiny amount.
But again, Arizona's cheap.
Is there
to get them to it's gonna be so it's not worth it. The assets it's gonna get you to cost.
A lot.
This is a deal. If it's Patrick Kane and you want to send Patrick Kane through Arizona and you give them a 3rd or 4th round pick to hold on to that $280,000 cash that it would cost them to pay for those extra 19 games and retain, Arizona will do that, and they're saving spots to do that for other teams to facilitate those deals at the deadlines. There's no chance they do it. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, if you're Kenny Holland and you're the general manager, you're the most expensive general manager, you gotta pick up the phone.
Absolutely.
Right? You gotta call Bill Armstrong and be like, hey, this is out there.
Absolutely.
But if you're willing, I'll give you like a first. I'll give you I'll give you Holloway.
I take those assets that you would put into that, and I'm Mr. Fuck the Future, but I don't know, man. Holloway? Oh, jeez. I don't know.
Holloway is amazing, but you said it best. Also, like, it's gonna be hard to make this work. Mm-hmm. And if you want to go for it, like if you really want Erik Karlsson at what, like,
it's 7. It would be around 7-ish. Yeah, but you can't. Like, I'm sorry. It's just too crazy.
50 on San Jose is gonna be like 3 firsts, maybe like an A-list prospect.
But 3 firsts, I think you can do, and I don't think. And if it's your I think you could do 3 firsts if they're retaining 50%. I don't think you would have to add on an A-list prospect for that. I think I truly don't if it's 3 firsts coming.
It also depends. You know what? You are right in that this year it seems like it's oddly been a buyer's market. So obviously we've only had
certain
rentals.
Players, right?
We've only had rentals happen so far. But
so when it's a guy with a no move clause and they can tell you where they want to go and stop any trade, then that kind of negates that, because it's just this guy with term will only go there, and then you two have to work out a deal amongst yourselves. It's not necessarily a buyer's or a seller's thing. I think at that point, in the chat, I see some Nurse for Karlsson stuff. That is it's a lateral move. Nurse is capable of playing a lot better. Nurse, if Karlsson came, maybe Karlsson's partner. Nurse is obviously overpaid by a couple million. Doesn't matter. You're moving Nurse. He's part of your core. He's best friends with McDavid and Draisaitl. If they win in Edmonton, he's gonna be here. You gotta hope Nurse plays better. He's overpaid. Move on. You're not moving Nurse for Karlsson. Yeah. San Jose. Why would San Jose do that? They're trying to get rid of the money.
You only move Nurse when it's time to blow it up and rebuild.
Yeah, and Nurse is signed for Nurse will be here for 8 more years or 7 more years after this year. Like, he's not going anywhere. That is just stuff. San Jose doesn't want 8 years of Darnell Nurse. Like, they're trying to get rid of Karlsson. That's the thing. Karlsson is having a resurgent year. He's he's a front runner for the Norse.
This is the highest San Jose is motivated.
San Jose is motivated because this contract is $11 million. Even if Karlsson was on a pace for 70 points this year, I don't think this is even a conversation. I think San Jose needs to understand that this is their window to get rid of this contract, especially if you're going all out. You're getting rid of Timo Meier. You're gonna try to lose. You don't want a guy who is capable of scoring 100 points on your blue line and dragging to wins. You want to lose. You want Connor Bedard. This is the best draft to tank in. They are going to be motivated to get it to work. I think it maybe it goes back and forth. I would love if this happened, though. I would change my stance on Ken. You need a big swing. You need it. You need it. You need it. You need it. I cannot emphasize that enough, how much this needs to happen. You make it work. You figure out the assets. You call Mike Greer. 3 firsts, doesn't matter. If you can do it for 2 in a prospect and Puljujarvi and Barron, whatever, you make it work.
If it's gonna be better negotiating power for the deadline, you do it. And this is the nice thing too, right? If you're only talking Chychrun, there's no one else. Gavrikov's not needed anymore. Chychrun. This is really bad for negotiating. So even just opening the Karlsson discussion is great for your discussions with Bill Armstrong in Arizona, because you can say like, hey, Greer, he's got ties to the Oilers organization. We're a bit buddy here. Like, we might be able to make a deal work. That gives a little bit more pause. Now, Chychrun, of course, he has more suitors.
Yeah,
it's more likely
that is to me, that is one of the players who it would be a seller's market for, because there's a Boston and LA and Edmonton. You pick your team. Like Jacob Chychrun could, if you 32 teams in the NHL could use Jacob Chychrun. If anyone hasn't seen Craig Button's rant on TSN 1260 and the Jason Greger show, go watch it. There's a clip on Twitter that's 40 seconds, or go listen to the podcast version where they talk about it longer. But Craig Button articulates my feelings perfectly. It hurts more. Like, what do we care about these assets? It hurts more not to do anything than to not do these assets. This might upset people. If you don't make a trade this year, if you don't go all in and you end up losing, trade McDavid. Because what is the point?
Hilariously, I have Twitter open on my other tab. Same brain moment Oily Gifts 12 seconds ago when the Oilers strike out on Karlsson but get Chychrun. Oh, big brain negotiating tactic, right? Like, you got to try and create opportunities. And if it's gonna be like a bit of a negotiation tactic, we don't actually have any interest in Karlsson, but we're doing it for the sake of like, hey, let's stay active. Let's see if we can get any extra movement. Even like a tiny asset, even if it means going from, like, instead of giving up a Reed Schaefer, you're giving up, like, I don't know,
Kyle Tullio.
Yeah, like a Kyle Tullio or like a Matvei Petrov.
I value Matvei Petrov, and I might be the man. Petrov leads the OHL. He leads the OHL in scoring.
Like, he's in the OHL.
Again, I get it.
4 years.
I put him above Schaefer, and I know probably most people, just because Schaefer's younger, he still has a point per game. They'll put him in. But I think Petrov will be really good, and he probably doesn't have that much value around the league. Anytime you're
Carter Savoy, right? Whatever the name might be.
Yep. Sorry.
If it means going from like a little bit of a higher price to a little bit of a lower price, I want my GM to make those calls, right? You gotta try. And I don't fault him for some of the, like the Athanasiou trade, the Cassian contract. A lot of things happened. COVID, salary cap, all of that changed on him. I don't fault him for things like that.
Yeah, every team
really predict.
There's two things there with the COVID thing. Every single team. Boston gave up a first for Ondrej Kase. Every team had to deal with COVID. I'm not someone who will sit here and be like, why did you trade 2 firsts? Were there better players you could have traded 2 firsts for? Probably. Devon Toews went for 2 firsts, like right around the same time. That would have been cool. But I like when my GM shows the players that he sees what they're doing and he goes, I'm doing everything in my power to get you to win. This is the best they could. This is the best we might ever see the Oilers look in Connor McDavid's career. That's why, like, who knows? You never know what the future holds. You go
outside
now.
of the late 80s. This is it. This is the dream team, right? Like, other than the fact that we had a team that was literally called the greatest team in existence. If it wasn't for that 1 year, this team is the building blocks of the greatest team in existence. And if we win a couple of cups, holy moly, could you believe it? Now, like, if I'm an employee, right? If I'm a hockey player and I fly around the country and I get knocked into the boards, I risk injury all the time. I want to see at least my GM getting on a flight, going to watch a team in fucking Ohio, like in a random part of the country. I want to see him putting in the work. Maybe it doesn't produce any results out of it, but if it's flying around just to get a better deal on a trade, I want to see him put in those miles, because boy, like the Oilers organization is not cheaping out on airfare, right?
Yeah, no, I want them to do it. How they do it, I don't care. In chat, you see, so down the road, do we look at trading Dry to keep McDavid and use this to get a cup? It's McDry or this team dies. I'm telling you right now that if you get rid of Leon Draisaitl before his contract ends, Connor McDavid will not be an Oiler in the 26-27 season. I will 100%. If Leon Draisaitl is not here, Connor McDavid will not be here. Again, we have no clue what the future holds of those two. They could re-up July 1st when they're eligible. But in order for that to get them to do that, you need to do everything you can to give them every tool in the toolbox to win. They have a lot of the tools now. Like, this team is pretty well off just in comparison to all the other teams. You have the opportunity. There are players available that put you over the top into the stratosphere of teams that you think of, like the 84 Oilers, the 70s Canadians, the 2011 Bruins, the Tampa Bay Lightning, Colorado. Like, you could elevate yourself into that stratosphere of teams that have won cups. That's why you do whatever it can to take it. I don't care. Okay, you give up a pick that becomes Shikabir Muhammadulin or whatever. Igor Sharangovich. Who gives a shit? Like, truly, it doesn't matter. Give up 3 first. Look at the NBA. Look at the Kevin Durant trade. Like, people get, when you have the chance to win, you give your futures up. When you eventually want to get those assets back, you have enough players too that make, like, Bouchard 925, Holloway 925 for multiple seasons after this. McLeod is going to probably not be that expensive. You have players, Broberg, if you don't move Broberg, that are cheap that you can use. So when you have this $8 million defenseman, $9 million defenseman, $12, $13, $14 million forwards, you can supplement them with that. That's why you have them now. So you use the other picks, you send them out the door, and you go this year, and then when the cap, and you deal with your problems that come later down the road, and you just, look at your Stanley Cup ring and make everything feel a little bit better.
Exactly, right? You look at how much Pittsburgh is paying. I mean, Crosby took a really team-friendly deal. Maybe his maybe a little bit of
with Crosby, number. I believe that Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby at the time of the age extensions, they signed for the same percentage of salary cap. Just the difference is that Connor McDavid's the cap was like $30 million higher when Crosby signed. But
so even if they aren't actively like, oh, we're gonna win another one, like this team, if they play their cards right, could have a Penguins sort of situation where even if we aren't necessarily going to be competing 10 years down the line, at least we have these guys that are highly marketable. We're just going to keep trying. And then when they all decide to retire, when Crosby, Malkin, Letang, when they all decide to retire, we're going straight into a rebuild. Yeah. Like, that's the case. If you can pull this off, if you have McDavid, Draisaitl, and let's say Nurse, right? If they're around and they're the core until they're 40 or something and they all decide to retire, that's fine.
Just like Pittsburgh.
You've still made money on the fact that you have these stars. And if you win a cup or two, they don't care anymore.
No, they'll be here.
You'll look at your cup ring and you go, yeah, I'll just make my whole career here in Edmonton.
And they have the belief in them that they can do it again. Like, you look, Sidney Crosby won in 2009, and they didn't win for a while, but they had continued playoff success, and then they retooled, and he knew that he was going to be given ever opportunity to win in Pittsburgh, so he stayed there. He re-signed in Pittsburgh, and they ended up winning 2 more cups, right? Teams like Boston it seems like they trade their first round pick every year. They've been in the playoffs and really good cup contenders since 2010, 2009.
Yeah, I mean, the Bruins, they don't really hit on their first round picks anyway.
But it seems like they're one of the rumored top destinations for Jacob Chikrin. They're the best teams. They're the best team in the NHL. They have one of the best defenses. They have Charlie McAvoy. They have Hampus Lindholm. They have Brandon Carlo. They have so many. They have Derek Forward. They have tons of players who are pretty good. And you're going to supplement that with Jacob Chikrin. If they see the value in there, and they, say what you want about the Bruins front office, but when it comes to pure hockey NHL pro moves, they seem to know what they're doing, clearly.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. If the Bruins are running that same sort of play, it would have been over when Chara decided to move on. It would have been over, coming up whenever Patrice Bergeron decides to retire. That would be the time when you say, okay, pack it up, we're rebuilding. But they have Pasternak, they have Marchand, they have Hall. They have managed to build this organization in such a manner where it doesn't matter that our stars have started to wean off. We're still going to be super competitive, even though we aren't hitting on draft picks. That's fine.
You make them
become a destination.
Vincent Desharnais, 7th round pick. Matvei Petrov, I think it was a 5th or 6th round pick. Like, you have guys. You have the ability. Stuart Skinner was a 3rd round pick. Ryan McLeod was a 2nd round pick. You have I know those were different regimes, but the Oilers have the ability, and the best teams do, to get NHL quality players from the later rounds, and that's how they stay good. They move their top picks for players that are good now, can help them now, and they supplement with picks. Tampa Bay, where'd they get Braden Point? 3rd round. Who's it? Alexander Barboulay, Ross Coleman. Like, tons of players on Tampa Bay. Eric Cernak. Like, we can go down the list. Every good team uses late round picks, and they supplement, and they trade their 1st round pick at the door every year. That's where we are. That's what we got to do. We could do this forever. And we're running a bit long, so let's try and wrap it up here. But I see everyone in chat kind of agrees. Super Strike, Oilers have the best player in the world. It'll be very sad if they never win with him. There'll be an ESPN 30 for 30. There'll be movies made, books made. It would be a fail on epic proportions. McNader says Boston wants to win. The Oilers should want to win too, and that's why whether it's Erik Karlsson or Jacob Chikrin, doesn't matter. It needs to be done. If it's anything less than those two, I might sound spoiled. This might sound stupid to me. I'll be very, very, very disappointed in the management team.
It shakes you to your core, right?
Yeah,
it would shake fans into what we saw with the season ticket holders. Maybe I don't want to cheer for this team, at least not as hard as I have in the past.
I'll be gone if it doesn't work with 97-29. I'll be first out the door. Well, I'll have a UFA sign, and wherever 97 goes, I will follow. If they f this up that bad. But it seems, let's not think like that, because clearly Ken Holland's trying to make some moves, and let's see what happens. There's less than 3 weeks now until the NHL trade deadline. So let's see what unfolds here, Dennis. It's going to be a real interesting 3 weeks, and it's going to get tougher and tougher to focus on the games as they roll through.
If you look at it, I don't know the exact time metric. We might have covered half of the podcast as the game and the other half as trade talk. And this, you're right. It's gonna be like this all the way until the trade deadline. Like I mentioned, there's a lot to be done. Maybe it'll happen sooner. Maybe we'll have to wait for the deadline. But it's inexcusable for Ken Holland to not do anything that moves the needle.
Absolutely. One more time, guys. Thanks for everyone in chat showing up. I see a bunch of new people. Super Strike, Tim McLaughlin, continuing on it. Says there's 44 people watching now. We don't have 44 likes. Our like goal Dennis set today was 36. You guys want to hit that like button one more time? We're going to hit that after the show ends. It was an afternoon game. It was a kind of weird time. So want to thank everyone for joining us. It was very fun, especially thank you to Chris Johnston, fellow SDPN employee and podcast host, for dropping that bomb and just completely taking my focus off the game, because that's what this show needed, was for me to not be focused. But yeah, thanks again, guys. I know Dennis and I will be back next week. I think the Oilers play Detroit on Wednesday. Avery will have the show tomorrow. It's going to be a great show. Another 10:30 a.m. start. It's going to be perfect time for Black Mascara, but hope to see you guys all there. And anything else? Dennis, where can they find you?
At Dennis Lee YEG on Twitter. And Zach, where can they find you?
You can find me at ZWheel97 on Twitter. Thanks for showing up. That's all from now. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.